Now, I am live. Hello, world. I'm pulling like Michael Jackson in The Wiz. Yeah, that's one of my favorite movies, by the way. The movie, Hello, world. Can you feel a brand new day? I love that song. In fact, I will rant sometimes. Just feel good. I'm not even lying. I would really be like, man, let me play that. I also play a lot of other songs, which probably might explain. Church is over and I'll be rushing because I listen to the jazz radio afterwards. But anyway, hello. You've seen me, Kirby Clemens Jr., Community of the Holy Spirit, and our Saturday evening service. Um, they set it up for somebody much shorter than me. Someone move this back, and I can turn my legs sideways, and I can cross them, and I can assume the Kirby Jr. position. As you all know, this is my position, how I sit, because it's easier for me. Okay. All right. Well, this time, I stress to you, I'm going to be rapid. And I know I say I'm going to be rapid, but sometimes I'm not. But this time I think I'm going to be. Um, the title of this is, well, I had a great title. It was going to begin with Just a Closer Walk with Thee, because I happen to like that song. And there's a jazz song by a guy named Oliver Jones. He plays it many different ways on the piano. I listen to it on YouTube. And of course, there's the Mahalia Jackson version that you can listen to as well. But I just happen to like the song because I really can't sing at all, but I can always sing with that song. You always sound good singing certain gospel songs. Other songs, you just sound horrible. But I can sing, I sound good with Just a Closer Walk with Thee. And the sad part about that song for me is I don't actually know the words. Just beyond just a closer walk with Jesus, with Thee, granted Jesus, if you please. And I think I'm making that part up too. Other than that, I don't even know the words. But that was going to be the title, but I'm here now with Your Door. Don't know how that's going to work. But it should make some sense when we get through. Let us have a word of prayer. Thank you, Lord, for this day and all things and all days and all things that you've done for us in those days. Lord, we pray that we have something to say that will be helpful and useful to your people and to myself, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen. I have to remember to pray before. So at the end of this, I might point to Suzette so she can come back and close it out with prayer, because when I'm finished, I'm like done. I mean, it just comes from years of trying cases. I can't end it with, I ask you to find the defendant guilty, or I ask you to find my client not guilty. I have to end it with, you just kind of end like, and I'm done. You think about it. I think on every tape I've ever done, I end it with, well, that's it. I don't have an organist to start playing, and I can, you remember how church used to be, when it depended on the church you went to, they had the organist coming in, you knew it was getting to the end. The preacher would be talking, you'd be like, oh my God, please. He talked, did he get going? Then you finally, he hit his little groove and you hear the organist coming in, you're like, all right, now we bringing it on home. And as a child, when I would be in those sermons, I'd be thinking, we're closer to food than I've ever been. It's like, we're getting closer to food. The preachers, and then, then we went to AME church at one point, and there was going to be an altar call, and the preacher was going to go down with the microphone. He's going to talk to every person at the altar. That part I didn't like. But then they would take another offering, and then we'd leave. And I would just know, whenever I hear the organ playing, I knew church is over. So I always get excited whenever my dad goes to another church and I hear the organ playing. I'm thinking, church is almost over. It's terrible that I think that way. But I'm also thinking, I'm closer to food. That's what happens because I don't eat before church. Anyhow, here's the thing I want to talk about. It's just how you're going to be, it was going to be happy when God closes doors. And that was going to be my sermon. Be happy and I was going to go through doors that were closed. And then I was going to be glad when God opens doors. And I was like, well, who wouldn't be glad if the door opened? You know what I mean? I mean, obviously you're happy. The door opened. Yes, I'm happy. I've not met anyone unhappy that a door has opened for them. I mean, a lot of people that were unhappy when doors did not open and they would fight against it and everything else. And I would say, don't fight against your door, being closed. And that had a lot of great things I was going to go through. Well, I say they were great. You will never hear them. So I'll just point out that a lot of times doors close, and I'll touch on it in a little bit. But I want to start with us as human beings, mankind, womankind, humankind. We are made in the image of God. So let us go make man in our image. And so I thought about that. What does that mean? God a man, God a woman? People ask those questions, and I'm like, no. That's not, I think it probably meant more than that. And I go along with it. But I thought, it's interesting how Jesus knew who he was. Jesus said, he knew that he was about his Father's business. Jesus knew, and there's no point in the Bible where it looks like Jesus was unsure of who Jesus was. And we all are kind of unsure of who we are. Where's our place in life? I never read about that in any part of the Bible that seemed to suggest that Jesus was uncertain about who he was. Then I said, well, and here comes the title where I got Just a Closer Walk with Thee from, which is not the title of the sermon. But I just wanted you to know where I was going so that you can now see where we end up. But think of all the people that walk with Jesus. Peter walked with Jesus. And remember, Peter denied Jesus. Remember that? Judas walked with Jesus. He was a disciple of Jesus. And he didn't really, did he know, and that's the debate was Judas, did he really know who Jesus was? There's an interesting thing, why would Jesus pick Judas? There are people questions about it. Why would Jesus pick Judas? Well, was he setting up was it like a suicide? And it was don't go on the internet and just search stuff because you will find a lot of crazy things. The Pharisees walked with Jesus. And the Sadducees, you think about it, because they were always asking him questions. Well, what does that mean? He wasn't showing up at their spots like, hey, how y'all doing? I have not been invited to your party that I'm going to be crashing so I can talk to you. So they obviously had to be hanging out, walking with Jesus. And yet they didn't know who Jesus was. They disagreed with what Jesus had to say. The ones that he taught when he was a child, when he wandered away. So he was 3 days. It says he was away within 3 days. So I say all that, and that sermon probably wrapped up real quick, to suggest that just because you're with Jesus doesn't mean that you recognize all that you're with. Just because you're with God doesn't mean you recognize everything. And you are capable of doing a lot of things that those people that I've just described did. Denying, betraying, questioning and trying to trick and trap, or just being impressed by it. But walking with Jesus doesn't mean that you know anything about what he's about or what he's saying. And you can be talking to him about it on a day-to-day basis, because everybody was. Because it appears that once Jesus went to his ministry, he was doing mainly ministry-related stuff. It's just my point. So proximity didn't really seem to make a difference. And that's why I was saying just a closer walk with thee, but that seemed to kind of undercut the theme of the song. So I really didn't want to go with that one. But then I got to thinking about your door, because I never saw the Pharisees' door open. I mean, the Pharisees' door did open. There was Jesus. He was there, and he was telling them he was here. I'm the fulfillment of the law. So he was their door, if you will. They just didn't want to open their door themselves. But be that as it may. Then I looked at the story of David, and this is 1 Samuel 17, 38 through 51, but I think really you can start at 34, 35, somewhere in that neighborhood. And that's really about David when he has been called, and they have now taken David to Saul, and he's supposed to fight the Philistine, fight Goliath. And so they're in the middle of controversy, in the middle of battle. They are like, what are we going to do? Well, God, David's, I'm going to do it. And they're kind of like, all right, cool. You go ahead and do it then, little man. And then Saul says to him, and David is, before this, he's telling him all the successes he had. He's like, let me let you know, when the bear and the lion came and took my sheep, I went and got my sheep back. And when they came at me, I killed them. So David is like, I got my background story. I know who I am. I know what I've come through. I know the battles I've been in and how big my adversary was. I know all of that. And I did what I was naturally gifted to do, and I prevailed. And then they said, well, cool. Now, we're going to need you to put on the king's clothes, put on his armor, take his sword. And he did all of those things and just said, I can't do it. This doesn't work for me. But what I got from that is the idea that even when your door opens, you are at your moment and you know what you have been doing to get you to that point. People go, well, are you sure you're ready? Yeah, I'm ready. I mean, and I'm not saying I'm ready in my own strength. I'm just simply letting you know I have been equipped and I have demonstrated to myself and to my adversaries that I am ready. And in the midst of that, he was still convinced to not rely upon the God-given talents that he had. And I say that to say that when God opens a door for you, and you know what you've been doing and walking in your purpose and walking in not your strength, but in the strength that God gave you, because our talents are our strength. I think quick on my feet. Why is that? God gave me that ability. Not everybody thinks quick on their feet, and as quick as I think on my feet, I don't think quick on my feet great when I'm emotional. I don't make good decisions when I'm angry. I don't make good decisions when I'm upset or when I just don't, or in certain situations, I'm like, this is not my world. But I know in the world within which I operate, within the world of law, within the field of interviewing witnesses, and when we're fighting right here. I mean, I'm really making decisions or making moves that can have life or death implications for people. I work well in that. But then somebody will say, well, did you do this? Did you do that? Well, have you considered these things? And suddenly your mind starts working and you're like, well, I probably should do this. And I need to get the PowerPoint presentation. I need to get these things to get myself ready for my case. And then I realized I don't. I've been in trials where the prosecutor had their assistant doing the beautiful presentations as they make their argument. And I think it'd be great if I could do that. Whereas I'm talking, I flick a button and I have planned my speech out so well that when I flick the button, a graphic pops up that illustrates the exact point I'm talking about. And everybody's like, ooh, and that's timely. And it would be amazing to do. I can't do it though. I really can't. Do you know why? Because sometimes I don't know what I'm going to say before I say it. I mean, I know what I'm going to talk about. I know what the case is about. I know how it's going to go. But then it's a dynamic situation and things start happening. But I was so focused on you got to do it this way. And then I realized I don't got to do it that way. And I won those cases. I mean, I'm just being honest. I'm like, y'all had great graphics, but I had great God-given gift and talent. And I utilized my God-given gift and talent. So my point in saying this is that when your door opens and your opportunities has presented itself and you are where God has placed you, even if you're the low man, low woman on the totem pole, don't change doing what got you there. Everybody's like, this is what you need. No, that's what you need. Saul needed the armor. Saul needed a sword. David's like, I don't need that because I'm not going to fight this giant with a sword. I mean, if you really just go through and you just think that out, the reason that they didn't want to fight the giant with a sword is because they recognized that as good as they were with a sword, he was bigger and stronger. And so they're going to give this little dude a sword. Well, take a sword with you. You mean the one you couldn't use? You've equipped me with your weapon that you knew you couldn't do. And you're going to give it to me. Well, wear this outfit. Put on this air. Well, it's your stuff. And amazingly enough, you with your stuff didn't want to do what you're sending me out to do with your stuff. I'm going to work and function with the gifts and talent that God gave me. And I'm not going to deviate from that, because if I'm deviating, then what I'm doing is I'm doubting the gifts and talents that God gave me to begin with. If God gave me the gift of gab, the gift of talking, the gift of laughter, the gift of being able to incite, to write, to program, whatever, I'm going with that. As they say, the old phrase, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm like, don't doubt it if God gave it to you in the first place. That's how your door came to be in the first place. He put you where he knew those gifts and talents would work. So let's not get sidetracked. So I guess the question is, don't listen to other folks about what you need to do in order to do the thing you've been doing all along anyway. You know what I mean? Like, well, this will make you better. If it would have made me better, I guess it would have made you better and you'd be better and you would need me. But since I'm here, I'm going to do what I do. Of course, it better work out for you. Otherwise, it's going to be real hard to walk home. You're going to feel kind of foolish. No, I'm just kidding. It will work out. But here's the other thing I want to tell you about. I got from the Saul story, the David and Saul story. In addition to all of that, David learned. You know what he learned? He learned about kingship, because Saul was the king. David was not the king, but he learned about what does it take to be a king. And you think Saul wasn't necessarily the best king. He was disobedient at one point. He was mercurial. I think Saul had mental illness. I really do. If you read Saul sounds bipolar. He sounds like he would be angry at times, irrationally angry, or he could have been any one of them. I'll just use the neurodivergent spectrum, but the way they describe him, he was that way. But you know what David had to learn? David had to learn how to deal with that. I mean, even when he was messing with Saul, the stuff he was doing, but he had to learn. I know how a king commands. I know how things get moved. I know how people respond to the king and how he can get this. So he had to learn all of that. So I say, when you are in your place of preparation, when you're and getting your training, and maybe you're going to be called upon, you got to learn. You got to learn. Like, I'm not going to necessarily do it like you, but I got to learn what you do. So David had that opportunity. I tell people all the time when they get jobs, I say, hey, if you got a job at Walmart and you want to own your own business, well, then learn how they run a business. You got a Walmart, you want to own a restaurant? Yeah. Where you work? I work at whatever restaurant, Waffle House, whatever. Okay, then have you learned about how to run a business? Have you learned how to operate in the food service industry? Are you asking the right questions? So sometimes before your door opens, you're in the room where you can gain the information that you need so that when your door opens, and I mean not just the initial battle, like as in David versus Goliath, but in the context of once you walk into the fullness of that door and that realm, you got to know how to be. You got to know how not to be. That's an important thing. When I left Georgia and went to New York, and different law. I mean, it's law, it's American law, but every state's laws are different. And I was sitting there, and I had been well versed in Georgia law. I was teaching Georgia lawyers how to be Georgia. I used to teach prosecutors how to be prosecutors and how to prosecute cases. And I went to New York, totally different. And I came up with my adage. There are three things I got to know: what I can do, what I can't do, and what to do when I did something I shouldn't have done. That's really it. I learned those three things. I'm good, but amazingly, we are all given those opportunities in preparation for walking through the door that God is going to open for us. And not only are you prepared to walk through the door, but are you taking in and learning all that you can where you are before you walk in, so that you are equipped there. Because again, David fought a bear. David fought a lion. He never fought a man before. And for everything we talk about, bears and lions, no, if you having a straight up physical confrontation, bear and a lion go win every day. But a man wins because we got the brain. We got the big brain with all the wrinkles and all that. We know how to make weapons and do all that stuff. But now he's facing another man who knows how to use weapons. He's just a bigger man. So the fact that he beat bears and lions didn't mean he could beat a man. Just meant he was bold enough to say, I can face a man. And I know that I have beaten other enemies that should defeat me. But he also had to learn. Because I'm sure, the forehead was not where he killed maybe he hit a lion in the forehead. But I don't know if that's going to be the way to kill a lion. But who knows? Anyway, that's point number one of my 3 points. Point number 2, Jesus teaching as a child. That's Luke 2, verses 41 through 42. This is during the feast of Passover, 41 through 52. This was during the feast of the Passover, when his parents, they were traveling, and they said, yeah, he was gone for 3 days. They're like, we've been looking for you for 3 days. Now, I just thought about 3 days. Like, that's a long time. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you go to work on Monday, and then, when it gets to Wednesday, you're like, it's just Wednesday? I got more days. Like, it just seems like it's been forever. And for some strange reason, the distance between Friday and Monday, for some strange reason, doesn't quite seem like 3 days. Monday to Wednesday is a long 3. Friday to Monday is like, what happened? How are we back? I heard somebody say I need a day between days to get over the previous day and ready for the next day. And I thought, you know what? That is so true. Give me a break. But here's the thing: Jesus was sitting amongst the teachers. Key point: sitting amongst the teachers. Because I guess it was told to me and taught to me, and I had internalized it as Jesus was there teaching, and was just there, just dispensing wisdom, and and they were like, "Oh, this guy is awesome." But I was reading it in Luke. It says he was sitting amongst teachers, so he was not sitting amongst those who looked to learn. He was sitting amongst those who had learned and were teaching and were scholarly. And it says they were amazed at his understanding and his answers. That tells me something. Jesus was asking questions. He was there in the midst of that saying, let me ask you some questions. Let me understand what you're saying. And then let me give you some answers. Let me interpret that back to you. Now, that to me was important. Number one, Jesus knew the answers because he's Jesus. It's like before the world, I was there. So I get all of this. But he knew the word, but he didn't reveal who he was. Do you see the distinction there? So they're amazed at his understanding. Well, because when you flash forward to when he was in his ministry, they were mad about a lot of stuff that he was saying. It's the same Jesus. In this, the carpenter's son, in this, the little dude who was missing and was over here at the synagogue, and you mean the guy that y'all all amazed at his understanding and his responses? That guy? Well, do you think he was saying different things at 12 than he was when he was in his 30s in his ministry? I think not. I think And it just be thinking, but I think what's more appropriate is that that's why they were amazed at his understanding, because he was asking and listening, laying the foundation. You all gonna answer some questions for me, and then later on, I'm gonna come back and give y'all some answers as well. But and you notice all the answers he gave when he was in his ministry, he would quote them back to old scripture. He would say, "It is written, for it was said." You know, remember how he was doing all that? So he was really saying, like, "Yeah, I'm the same Jesus. I'm just letting you know, I really understood." And y'all asking me questions that y'all clearly show me you don't really understand. Let me tell you this: it was written here. Go back and see about that. And what was the point I got from that? It's okay to be in the spot, in the place, but it's just not your time. I mean, your door is open, but it's just may not be time for you to go through it yet, or you're not. What's on the other side of the door is not ready for you to come through the door, and that's okay. That Jesus didn't retreat. His parents came and got him. He's like, well, I'm about my father's business, but he had answers. He was in there. They were questioning him. That closer walk with thee thing again. They were with him. The Pharisees. I'm sure some of those. They had to talk about him, because if you see a kid that's a prodigy, you're gonna tell somebody about that kid. Man, I saw a kid the other day, and you're gonna talk about Simone Biles with the Olympics. That young girl do X, Y, and Z. Somebody singing, somebody playing. We can always talk about extraordinary children. That's just amazing. They are skilled beyond their years. So that some of the people, we can safely, I think, presume that some of the people that were walking and questioning him when he was in his ministry knew of him from then, when he was 12, or heard about him. Like, this is the kid that was really blowing it up at the temple like several years ago. Like, this is who he grew up into. He grew to think he's God. That's what's wrong with him. No. Remember, he understood. And every time, because I read the questions, I'm big on questions and answers, and I see what was said. And I never really saw Jesus just go off on people. I mean, he did go off. You've been a vipers. He had a couple of times he went off, but that was appropriate under the circumstances. But I'm just saying, as a general rule, he took the questions. He didn't go, I don't want to answer that question. He was like, okay, perceiving their hearts. Jesus then answered them. That's what I noted that. I have adopted that probably to a fault, meaning I will answer questions. People can say the most offensive stuff to me, and I am like, even in their answers, doesn't even faze me at all, because I'm like, we're about information, and I am confident about who I am, what I know, and what I'm talking about, such that I can't get sidetracked by you. I want to understand how you think, because I'm trying to bring you into a new revelation. I'm trying to make you understand that how you thought is probably not the way you should be thinking. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you you're thinking wrong. I'm going to answer your questions, no matter how offensive they are, because I saw that that's what Jesus did. He didn't rebuke them for the question. He answered their question. And that, to me, is tremendous. So the point that I'm getting to on that one is, you don't have to always reveal that you are blessed and anointed and the Son of God, if you will. That's not necessarily what you're pleased to do. You don't have to reveal it. How are you doing what you're doing? I just do what I do. I do it. God has blessed me to be able to do this. That's an opportunity I have. There you go. That's really the answer. I can't break it down for you any more than that. And I don't necessarily need to make an enemy of you right now. When you could probably you might block me. You won't shut my door, but you might put some obstacles between me and my open door. And I don't need those obstacles, because an obstacle is just as bad as a shut door sometimes. But Jesus, I mean, that's one of the times I want to say that'll preach. An obstacle is sometimes you can have open door with a bunch of obstacles in front. What you going to do then? A lot of folks will walk away or spend their time fighting the obstacles. I'm like, no, that door is for me to go through. It's open for me. I don't got to tell y'all that's my door, so that y'all don't realize that you're blocking me from anything. But you're going to be there. So even before the time, Jesus was on time. That's going to preach as well. And I got an over there. I like that. Now I just need the organist to play one time. Then I want to talk about the centurion. He just recognized that Endor was there. You know what I'm saying? Well, he was like, I'm a Roman soldier, man. This is what I do. We're tracking you. But my servant is sick. I'm a man with many under my command. I know if you say it, I do it. And what they recognized is, he recognized who the door opener was. And sometimes that's what you got to do. Like, Lord, I got a problem. I got a situation I'm facing, and you know what? I don't know how to open this door, but I know there's a door that can be opened, and I'm talking to the door opener. I'm talking to the door maker, the door opener, and you know what? I only got to be involved in the opening of the door. I don't have to be. I only got to be there. It's just I know that this door needs to be opened, and so I'm petitioning God. So sometimes when we think about the door, because you think about it, it was His servant that whom we loved and He cared about. And it would be great to have your servant still. I mean, to the extent that when they say servant, that always triggers me. I'm like, a slave? How do I feel about the slave story? But then I realized that was, we can go to whole colonialism and a whole bunch of other stuff. I'm not going to do that right now. But we get into some great philosophical discussion. I heard an article. I heard a thing about the Jeffersonian Bible, how Jefferson cut out the stuff he didn't like and left the stuff in that he did. I thought it was great. I have a Facebook friend who's actually a lawyer that I know. He actually has a copy of the Jeffersonian Bible. I said, I knew you would, but the point being is that you got to have spiritual situational awareness. That's the way I want to put it. Because when you go out somewhere where it's dangerous, they say head on a swivel. All right, you're looking around. Pay attention where you are. Pay attention to who you're talking to. If you're going somewhere where opportunities, we'll look for opportunities. I'm just saying you got to have spiritual situational awareness and recognize, hey, this is a time where a door can be opened, or I can be prepared to go through a door, or a way can be made, or a connection can be made, not for me. Like I recognize that you actually are a doorway for someone I know, and you can make that connection, because we always think about your door. But I'm like, sometimes the blessing you can give somebody is to say, hey, I know what you've been looking for, and there's a man from Galilee I can tell you about, or there's an opportunity for you to go make it over there. Because we also, because I always think when I be in church, I was like, man, we're just needy little bags of meat. We just sit there and just, Lord, give me this, Lord, give me that, Lord, open. I'm like, Jesus, even He's got to be looking at you sometimes, looking at us. I would say you looking at us, kind of going, man, stop that. I'm opening the doors I'm opening, and I'm closing the ones I'm closing. And by the way, be thankful for closed doors. That's a thing that I don't think we do enough of. Everybody talking about doors open. I was like, I don't know, that door was open. That door can become a snare. Be mindful. I'm like, be thankful when the door closes. The door closes, I'm thankful. I literally am. I'm thankful because you know what? It might have been a never, or it might have been a not now, or it might have been a not here. Like, this is a door that's open, but not here with these people. You don't need to, this is not the company you need to keep. Okay, when I was waiting on that door to open. No, you were waiting on a door to open, but you don't need this ain't the one. You need to come in the other door. You're going to be in the same place, but with different people and a different vantage point. Because you can sometimes be with people who give you the wrong information. I told you I was in law school. They assigned me a mentor who told me at one point, he said, don't get all those study guides because the teachers are going to know you, professors are going to know you're using that stuff. And I was like, yeah, you just got to read it anyway. And he was just kind of a cynical, I know it all. There you go. And I followed that man's advice. He was an idiot. You hear what I'm saying? He was an absolute idiot because it's the law. We're not being asked questions about the law like, who was the judge? They weren't asking us questions. It was about the reasoning. So the fact that I used those books was helpful because everybody else I saw had those books. And I'm thinking, what fools they are. They don't know the secret not to use the books like my mentor told me. That was the wrong man to walk through that door with. And I had to realize, you know what? Let me just shut this door right here. Click. I shut my own door. And I went and got some study guides. And actually, they were free in the people had those study guides in the Black Law Students Association, the Balsa office, we called it. And I got those study guides. And they were amazing. I was like, what a fool I was to listen to somebody who was more seasoned than I, who had been there longer, and who people had said, this is a good guy for you. I don't know. From now on, the praises of men on who you should follow means nothing. I'm just telling you that right now. It don't mean nothing. God opened the door for me to get to law school. He did not tell me to look up that man. He opened the door for me to get into law school. The people said, this is a guy, we're going to assign you mentors. And I put down Kirby's reasoning and said, I'm just going to adopt this guy's reasoning because this guy must know more than I do. And I realized, no, you don't know, because I have access to all the knowledge of the universe because I talk to God. He talks to me. I pray. He may not tell me about physics. He may not tell me about how to analyze a legal problem, but he's going to tell me you need to be reading this book. You need to talk to this person. You need to go get this. Whatever happened. And my grades turned around when I stopped following the advice of the cynical idiot. And I know I'm in church, and I didn't call him a fool because the Bible says you call somebody a fool, you're in danger of damnation. I don't know what all that means. I have no idea because I've used the fool word plenty of times. Had to repent for it afterwards. Oh, I got to repent for that. I have weird things that I do. I know I told you that one time when the Bible says don't add any words to this or all the curses will be added to you. Don't take any words away. So if I'm reading the Bible and I'm reading it out loud and I skip a word, I will go back and read it again because I'm like, I don't take any words from the Lamb's Book of Life. It's crazy. I know. I'm sure God is like, Curb, you can keep going. I got you. But I'm like, you know what, Lord, just in case you forget. And you'd be like, no, Curb, nope. I go back and read. I do weird stuff like that. And we all do weird stuff. And here's the key thing on the weirdness. Embrace your weirdness. Embrace it. Just there you go, right there. Sister Yabo. Just embrace it now and learn how to live with it, learn how to navigate through it. And I understand sometimes when I'll catch myself and be like, man, this right now, you've gone too far. And I'll be like in there like, I cannot believe I'm here. This door is open and I am wow. And then I'll pull back, like just reverse, like that song, reverse. I go right in the back and pull back because I recognize my weirdness. I recognize how I am. And I don't want to get my door shut. I want to get kicked out of that open door. You get out of here. You weird. You the weird guy. No, I'm the guy who Lord, enlighten me. Bring somebody near me to remind me that I'm being weird. Let somebody ask me a question like, you sure you want to do that? That's a good question. Let me think that through. I don't want to do that. I need that sometimes. But know that you're enough when you got enough and who rely upon it. Just because somebody there before you has told you, that don't mean nothing. This is how we do it. Well, that's how it's been done. But I am here to, God, I do a new thing. Old things have passed away. All things have become new. So you were great in the things that have passed away. I am the new. Anyhow, don't be too arrogant. Don't walk out of here just thinking y'all are, it. Because then you'll have to do like I do and reverse. And in the story, Lazarus, and I'm bringing him to a close. They recognized where the door was, and here's the part about closed doors. Just because a door has closed, remember Lazarus was sick. They were saying, send for Jesus, get Jesus over here. He's going to do all that. And then Jesus didn't come, and Lazarus died, and he's dead. He's been dead 3 days, and surely he stinks. And I'm thinking to myself, man, what do we think about that? You think the door is closed and opportunity is gone. There's no way for this to turn around. This is irreversible, irredeemable. I know how this plays out. I've seen this play before. Whatever phrase you come up with. And I say this. The door opener and the door creator can open doors and create doors where they need be. And you have no idea why that door closed anyway. That door was open, or so you thought, and you're like, oh, well, Lord, please, and it's shut. It's too late. No, it's not too late. Sometimes just because a door is shut, and I know we be thankful for closed doors, but that don't mean you can't go knock. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, y'all, it's sure, you got to go up to the door, knock on the door a little bit, jimmy the handle. All right, it's closed. But it's the right door. If it's the right door, God's open the doors for you. He's just like, because Lazarus got raised 3 days after he died. We done wrapped you up, buried you, had a funeral service, had the chicken, all the other stuff, whatever they cooked back in the day. I know when my mom passed away, we got a ridiculous amount of chicken. I think at her funeral, I said, we don't need any more chicken. I mean, that's how much chicken there was. It was just that much chicken. We destroyed chickens. But they done had that. They done wrapped it up. They have begun to come to grips. They were probably in the acceptance phase of death. The Elizabeth Kubler-Ross 4 phases of grieving or dying, bargaining, when you go through denial, then, bargaining, and then, whatever, something else, anger, and then acceptance. They were probably at the acceptance phase at this point. And Jesus comes by and they're like, well, man, if you had been here, but door open. Here's Lazarus. Now, we never heard anything else. I don't think, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that we heard anything else about Lazarus after that point. But I thought it was pretty important that for me, Lazarus represented a closed door in the face of faith. You know what I mean? When you are believing on something and it's like, I desperately need this to be, and that door shuts and you're just like, it's over. Well, no, it's not over. And you got to remember that. I'm not saying
you're going to keep banging on the door that's truly closed and camping out. I'm not saying don't stalk your door. You know what I mean? Like stalkers will sit outside your door waiting for you to come out. I'm not saying stalk your door. I'm just saying acknowledge that just because that door has closed, no matter how final that closure seems, does not mean that that door cannot be opened by the opener of doors and the creator of doors. And sometimes the miracle of that door opening is not for you. It's for those who see that that door has opened for you again. Like I never thought you would, because I was watching and I just knew that would never, and it has, and it's changed my perspective. Now, because when it was closed for you, you had to come to grips with the fact that the door had closed. And then when it opened for you, you were like, I'm going through the open door. That was it. Door closed, sad. Door open, happy. You kind of moved on. You didn't really go through the process. But somebody else was looking at you and going, man, that door closed. Remember how they were talking all that stuff about the Lord? And then that your door opens. Now for them, because they never had to come to grips. They never had to go through the phases of grief. They never had to go through the phases of disappointment. In fact, they were probably expecting you to fail, maybe anticipating your failure, maybe anticipating and looking forward to it so they could just go see what they was all about. It was just talk. It was a philosophy. Christianity has become somewhat of a philosophy, if you think about it. We become more of it's more country club, more ideology, more of these things. And I'm like, no, this is a different, true Christianity. Being a true follower of Christ is more than self. It's just more than. And people go, what does that mean? You can be as moral as you want to be. I mean, some of the most, even people I met have been the most moral people I know. I'm just telling you, the people who are quick to say, kill him, they should have died. I'm like, wow, I would think you would have been praying for their redemption. Well, no, they pray for the judgment. I'm like, well, you are not praying to the right Lord. I mean, I don't know what God you praying to, but why are you praying for judgment on people? Why aren't you praying for deliverance? Why are you yelling at people and screaming at them and telling them how wrong they are? Why don't you just pray for them? Well, because you don't believe that prayer will change things, because you're not praying to the God who changes things. You are praying to the God that you need to believe in so you can feel superior to other people. And there's a difference. Or you're praying in the God that you believe in so you can feel that it's about suffering. It's about suffering. It's about this. It's about sin. It's about whatever. And I'm like, you know what? That's too much for Kirby Clements Jr. to think about. It just is. I cannot think about the moral implications of every decision I make. And I am confident that I have made some morally questionable decisions in my life. I know I have. I'm 100% convinced of that one. You ain't got to argue against it. I mean, I wish I would argue against it, but I see y'all are not arguing against it. But I'm saying I know I have made those questionable decisions. But I didn't pray for God to cover my tracks. I pray for enlightenment. I pray for knowledge. I pray for wisdom. I pray for people. I really don't even pray for, honest to goodness, I really can't think of a time that I really pray for myself. I really don't. I try to pray for my wife's family. She got so many people in her family. I can't name them all. I'd be like, look, we just have to go with houses. Your brother's house and all of his descendants, your sister's house and all of her descendants. And I'll end it with, and all of them, Lord. I mean, that's really how I do it. Because it's just too many of y'all. I mean, once I go through my house, I'm like, I got to name all my children and grandchildren. And I'm like, Jesus. I pray for my wife. And sometimes she'll extract a prayer for me because she'll like, something's going on. Come pray for me. I'm like, well, I'm in the living room right now. Yeah, come. She'll call me on the phone in the house to come pray for her. Or I walk by and she'll be like, what you would be doing right now is praying for me. I'm like, yes, that's what I'll be doing right now is praying for you. So I understand that. But I guess the key point is that those are actually opportunities. Those are bonding opportunities when I pray. But I don't pray for myself. I don't pray for myself. I pray for other people. But understand, other people are also looking at you when your door shuts. And they might be looking to say, aha, I told you so. And you have to know to pursue that door. And as you pursue that door and those opportunities, it will open again. Or another door will open again. And it's not one that you need to hide. Don't hide walking. You got to sneak in your door. You walk in your door. That's a fact. Walk in your door. I ain't got to tell you what I'm doing, but I know I'm walking in my door. You don't got to know my thoughts while I'm doing this. I'm walking in my door. But God, who has promised to open doors, promised to shut doors, will open the ones that you should walk through, Close those you shouldn't walk through ever, or close the ones that you shouldn't walk through for right now. But don't think because it looks so final that there's no, but it's just final. I mean, I got to figure out, God's going to give me the grace to figure out how to move life on. No, God is going to give you the grace to open another door to get you where you need to be. And maybe open that same door. And so there you have it. My sermon on doors. I said door a bunch of times. I know I preached a sermon on bread one time, and they told me how many times I said bread. It was comical. And my wife was like, they're like, we wanted to count how many times you said bread. So I said, man, if they put it on the internet, it'd be a drinking game. And not to say that we should be drinking for church things, but I'm just saying that it would have been because I said bread so many times. But that's the thing with doors. And so I went from just a closer walk with thee to walking through the doors, and recognizing when the doors open. But I think that is a thing that we should be mindful of, because a lot of doors, I will say this, some doors that have been closed are going to open. They're just going to open. And new doors are going to open. And you can't be thinking about, well, the last time a door closed. That's not it. Why am I thinking about a door in the past that closed? It doesn't matter. Because that ain't a door I'm going through. I don't think about restaurants I didn't eat at. I just don't. I don't think about things I didn't buy. I think about what I bought and where I'm going. And if you do that, then you'll not be sad when a door closes. You'll just be like, well, that door wasn't open. It's not to be. No, it was not meant to be now, and maybe never. But when you find the door that was meant to be, or that door that does open, you're not going to think about the closed ones. So don't think about the closed doors. I mean, be thankful for the closed doors. When you learn about them and learn that, oh, that was taking me off where I need to be. I'm thankful for you closing that door. But know that another door will open. And that is all I have. And my wife is going to come and close us out with a little prayer. And then if we have any questions after, we can ask questions. And then Mr. Meadows will sing, and then we can ask questions. So it's something like that order. Better yet, I'm going to change everything now and say, Miss Meadows, give us a song. I gotta get something to drink. My mouth is so dry right now. Oh, I'm sorry. On the internet, thank you all for joining us. I'm Kirby Clemens Jr. Nice to see you. I'm going to end the stream right now.